Welcome back to another episode of Riffing with the Sappers. I am back after a long hiatus. There was a lot going on in the winter season. Ended up getting tasked to help assign some of the high school soccer over the season, which ended up being practically a full-time job and a lot of other stuff going on. But very excited to be back and have our first game review of the new year. And Leo, happy to have you join us. So Leo is a fan of the channel and asked or offered to help do a game review sometime, and always welcome to have that input. So Leo, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, Scott, thank you so much for having me on your channel. Like you said, I'm a big fan. I always look forward to the Friday mornings. Typically, that's when you post your videos, and I got to tell you, I missed it throughout the winter. But I'm very thankful that you did take the assigning job. It's helped me tremendously with reffing some of the high school games. So I appreciate that. And like a little bit about me, I've been a referee now going on my 7th year, and I support anything from UPSL to U9 games locally, whether it be competitive games, recreational games, and it's just one of my life pleasures, if you will.
Yep. So looking forward to having your insights on this one. This was a JV boys Division II soccer match, and honestly at this level sometimes they play better than some of the varsity games at lower division level. So it was a lively match, starts out a little slow but ends up with multiple cards and some game management issues at the end. So let's get going. As a testament to how chill this game started out, we are 21 minutes into the match before we have the first kind of decision point for the referees that we could find in reviewing the game. And Maroon has scored a goal at this point, so they are winning 1-0. So here, White has the ball at midfield, kind of bringing back to reset, and we can see this interaction with the player. Looks like he megs him there. If memory serves on this game, at the time, I kind of felt that Maroon's left leg was planted and White initiated the contact.
You can see that the player in white does meg the defender in this case, or the player in maroon, but he gets right up. Nobody around you is asking for anything here. So in my opinion, we play on. And I think that's what the boys wanted in this scenario.
Into minute 24, by the way, realize here that my camera, when it's dark like this, it's going to be more pixelated here for these night games, so we're just going to have to deal with that. But White is on an attack, coming in here, really headed into the penalty area when Maroon tries to steal the ball and really just drags his foot, really pulls that right leg back. Very clear, very obvious, very easy call. Into minute 28, we've got our next decision. White is on an attack, trying to bring it into the penalty area here just outside when this defender comes in and challenges him for it here. I call a foul here and give White a direct free kick just outside of the penalty area. Now, what I saw on the field, and this camera angle doesn't really do it justice. The camera angle, as you watch it, it almost looks like White is throwing himself into the defender there. But also, defender misses the ball and clips him on the leg. So what I really called was the trip there. Now, I don't know, should I have either let it play or maybe called the initial lean into?
Well, Scott, I honestly, the player in white does lunge forward, as you can see. He brings his shoulder down. Ball's within playing distance, right? But the player in maroon takes a kick at the ball and misses.
Yep.
And I think that's a really good decision right there, because now you have a foul, basically a tripping foul.
Into minute 30, we've got a very straightforward one here. Red is just trying to manage this ball, and then this white player comes and bumps him in the back, jumps into his back. So easy jumping into call. Into minute 33, ball's coming down here on Red's attacking end, and we see here as he's trying to manage this ball, this white defender just climbs the ladder, right? Jumps up on his back, shoves him, really hard. And I do hold my whistle for a second here. You can see him asking for, where's the foul, because he thinks I'm going to just not call it. But honestly, what I saw there on the field is he makes this turn, and it looks like he might have a chance to actually control it and either pass it to a teammate or make a turn. So I was just giving him the heartbeat, right?
Yeah. I think it's a really good decision on waiting for those reasons, for sure.
About a minute later, we've got White coming down on an attack. Maroon's going to kick this ball up, and then we see White really fall down here after some contact on his ankle. I did not call this as a foul on the pitch. I made this a play on, and I told him to get up and go back to playing. But if we go back and watch this, what I really felt on the field, and this was the first of what ended up being several instances through this game where I felt like players were trying to sell fouls, which is a little bit of a pet peeve of mine when people try to sell them a bit too much. There was some contact of Maroon number 5 there, Maroon 5, coming across, but I felt it was pretty light contact on his foot, ankle, and more incidental than anything. And then just the way that he falls down, I did not feel was justified by the level of contact he received. So I chose to make this a no call. I also chose to file it away as okay, people are starting to try to sell me on fouls. But I guess, Leo, what do you think on this one?
What do you think if we give the audience a chance to add comments on what their perspective is?
Yeah.
Because for me, looking at this over and over, and again, you know, in the heat of the game or in that moment, sure, it does look like there's an embellishment per se, but I would also take into consideration the player in maroon, number 5, does clip the player in white, and now the player in white is unable to make progress towards the ball. So, yeah.
Into minute 38, we've got our last decision before halftime. So the ball is coming up here. I think it's off of a throw-in. And then over here in this corner, we actually see Red push White just as they're about to get to the ball. He's got 2 hands kind of outstretched there, right there. He pushes it. Yeah. Now White then gets the ball, and he gets some space there where he could have outlet passed it to the left, and he had some people open. So I wait to see if an advantage materializes. Then the defenders collapse. So I end up going ahead and calling that and putting the ball back near the midline for the restart. That was our last call of the first half. As you can see, only 7 decisions in the first half. Pretty chill, nothing out of whack. And then the second half, it starts to get a lot more heated, particularly after I think one of the teams ties it up. So let's get the second half underway. First decision of the second half occurs in minute 43, so we've got the ball going around in the middle here, and 2 players are going to challenge for it. Actually, I think it's kind of 3 players. And I end up calling a foul here. It's a little bit difficult to see on the camera, but I'm going to slow it down here and show you. So we're actually looking at this red player here to the right. He's going to foul this white player because right here he throws his elbow out, and you see the white player kind of stumble. And then as he's going to jump out of the way, his elbow comes up again at the player, and the player has to kind of cringe back to miss it. But it's really that first elbow that I called him for there where he throws him off. That's a different style foul than I had seen at any point in this game up until this point. So you actually see here, I'm pointing at him because I'm talking to him and I'm saying like, hey, listen, that's not something we should be doing in this game. So
yeah, and I think the player management aspect of it, not giving a caution for pushing him off with the elbow perhaps, but I think it was really well done that you maybe had a talk with him, even by pointing at him and yelling at him, because you can see him running away.
And especially at this point with where in this game, we hadn't had that kind of thing happen, right? So I felt the warning was appropriate.
Yeah, I would agree.
In a minute 44, we've got a key match decision because it's a very short time after the last decision, but we've got a throw-in that's happening here. This ball's going to get thrown deep into this player who makes a really nice turn, and then he's about to get a breakaway, and the defender decides to stop him.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty straightforward, actually very straightforward, about as easy of a PK call as you can get. And I call it, point to the spot, and grant that right away. Of course, the player's, he's still trying to argue. He doesn't know why that's a foul, but I don't think there's any doubt that it is. Do want to say, I'm actually, I've been working on my movement. I'm really happy with my movement here. So I felt like I had a good view of where the play was. As soon as I saw the breakaway, I sprinted in. By the time that foul happens, I'm right there at the top of the penalty area and in a position. That's something I've really been working on in the last year, and I think it was even Andrew Boyd, who was a guest on the channel, gave me some suggestions on making sure I'm anticipating that play better. So I felt like I was applying that here in this one. But
I would agree. The positioning here is absolutely where you needed to be. It helped with the sell of the decision because nobody can argue. You're right there. And yeah, it's interesting that the player in maroon is still trying to argue a clean foul. So yeah, that's penalty kick in my opinion too.
And I think if you go back to some of our other videos, like we notice here, like this sprint happens right here, and now I'm sprinting as well. And in the past videos where I've watched myself and tried to work on review, there's quite a bit more of a delay sometimes in how quickly I get moving. So that's something I have been working on, and I think it's paying some dividends.
Yeah, agreed.
Following the PK here, White does convert this. We've got a tied ball game now, and we'll look at this player over on the side. He actually walks up and he says something to me here, and you see me finish recording the goal, and then I immediately pull out a yellow card and give it to him. That was for dissent. He says something to the effect, and this is where I wish I had the microphone on this game, but my memory of it was something like, I don't know what game you're watching, ref, or something like that. Yeah. So, that was not something I was going to allow. It was over the line. So go sit down. Here's your yellow card. High school rules, you've got to sub out until the next stoppage. So go think about it for a second.
Yeah, I think that was well managed in that scenario for sure. Don't take any of that sort of stuff from the players.
Into minute 47, we've got another call that kind of started to build up in at least my mind, this idea that people were trying to sell me on calls that we talked about earlier in the match. Yeah. So White is on this attack here, kind of has a little bit of a breakaway, but then we see as he's trying to split these defenders that he falls down. Now, if we look at where I'm at on the field, I've actually got a very good, very credible, I'm following along. I can see right between them. So I feel like I had a really good view on the field of this. White actually outruns this player that's further away from us on the camera, to his left, and he's really kind of outrunning his own legs, right? He's leaning forwards, off balance, and the player, the red defender closer to us, it seemed like the two of them, their arms were kind of bound up, but it was like a 50-50 bound up. They're bumping hips 50-50, and you see he falls to the ground, and he's asking for a foul, and I'm out there no, that is not I am not calling that. I was 100% sure that was not a foul while I was on the field. I don't see anything here in the camera that would make me doubt that decision, and this did lodge as another notch in my head of people are trying to sell me on calls out here that aren't there.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Based on the positioning alone, Scott gives you a really good view between the players. That's what I would be looking at in this particular scenario. And I have a no decision here.
A very short time later, we've got what is a critical match decision here. So White is bringing the ball up the edge here, and then we see these players, they fall down, and it looks like it could potentially be a foul, but this red player actually slips on the ball. So he actually steps on this ball, slips down. White number 9 just kind of falls over him in a natural thing. So there's no foul there at all. And I don't call a foul. You see, I don't blow a whistle, ball goes out, I signal for a throw in. But then I come back here. So let's see what actually happens here. So as these two players are getting up, there's a little bit of some back and forth there. But then number 9 reaches up, grabs number 11, pulls down his jersey. Yep. Now, I think potentially there's something there, like does number 11... push him with his left arm. It's hard to tell from here. I didn't think it was really severe on the field, and I had a good credible angle on it, but I definitely see number 9 grab him, pull his shirt. So I pull out a yellow card there for unsporting behavior, and then, then of course he's got to leave. Do you see anything here? If I go back, like here, should I be cautioning on both, you think, or...
Scott, I honestly, what we see in the video transpire after the player in maroon attempts to play the ball, and he actually gets the ball and he rolls over it, right?
Right.
So now you have normal course of play where the player in white is going to roll over him. All of this is fine.
Yep.
Now the ball goes out of bounds. Okay, maroon kicks the ball out, and then you have the unsporting behavior by player number 9 in white.
Right.
I think that's totally fine. My only recommendation would be, if you were to run in to show presence, it would potentially maybe quieten things down. But again, it didn't result into anything more. But then you award the player the yellow card, and I think that's fair for that.
So now that is the yellow card, but as this player is walking off the field, let's change up the view here and take a look at what happens next. So I'm switched up to panoramic mode because otherwise the camera doesn't catch what's happening. Well, let's watch this player here as he's walking off the field. You can see he gets a certain distance away and then he turns his head and he looks back. And if I play this with the audio, it's difficult to hear because there's a coach that's talking right at that moment, right under the camera, and also the microphone on this camera isn't great. But he actually says, "Get out of here with that gay shit." And so that is offensive and abusive language.
Oh, absolutely.
So, and you cannot say that on any pitch, much less a high school match. So I complete booking the yellow card in my Ref 6 app on my watch, and then I double tweet my whistle, run over. I'm tweeting the whistle here to get his attention, having come back to me. I end up going ahead and giving him the straight red card for offensive and abusive language. Of course, at this point, the coaches on the far side of the field are wondering, what happened? Right? He was just, why a red? So I go over and I explain it to him, and I repeat exactly what I just said. And the coach was he's like, yeah, that's a red card.
Yeah.
So, they understand. They were really good in this game. I give them credit for that. And then after I talk to him and I explain it, you'll see I turn and I start to walk back out on the field here, and there is one of the captains of the white team is walking with me. And he's trying to explain to me, like, well, their players have been saying offensive stuff to us as well. And I kind of, that happens a lot, particularly whenever you catch one team doing it. The other team often says, oh, the other team also did it here. That happens quite a bit. And maybe they are saying it under their breath.
Yes.
But if you don't hear it, you can't deal with it. Yep. But I tell him, look, if I hear it, I will come back and I will handle it. But I also come over and I talk to the coach on this side. I'm hoping that they'll talk to their sideline and just say, look, if you guys are making any comments, now's the time to stop.
Yeah. No, I think, and again, the way that you're refereeing the game, absolutely, I think that was appropriate. But a lot of referees would potentially handle it slightly different. Mm-hmm. In this scenario, it didn't really affect you over the course of the game. So I think it was well handled on the pitch.
I think it's also really good just here, if we go back to the restart, and we think back to what actually happened on this play, right? Remember, it was a no call in the field.
Correct.
The ball went out of bounds for a throw-in, and then we have some misconduct afterwards, right? That's it. So, laws of the game, how do you restart when there's misconduct and it's not in play?
With what we have here.
However the restart was that you were going to have.
Agreed, yeah.
So immediately following all the drama from the red card, we have red on an attack here in what ends up being probably one of the more embarrassing moments for me in this game. So we've got red coming down here, about to go into the penalty area when we see this challenge and him fall. I made this a no call on the field. If I change up this camera view to show where I'm standing, right at the moment this happens, I'm in a fairly credible position here looking down here. Now, maybe I could be sprinting in a little bit better to get there, but I've got a decent angle on that.
I would agree.
And I'm looking where I can see down this line to see is it a foul in or out of the penalty area, etc., right? So I felt like I had a good angle on this, but I will tell you, if we watch it in slow motion, I've watched this several times offline, right here, this number 11, red, who's making the attack, he touches the ball forward, so we can see the ball continue in towards the goal, or at least into the penalty area, and then we see white clip out both of his legs, and he falls. Now, at the time, the reason I got this wrong is I was 100% sure that I heard a thump of the ball. So I thought I heard a thump, which to me indicated that white had gotten the ball, and then had kicked the ball into red, and that red had fallen because of that ball contact. And in fact, if we listen to the audio, I think you can even hear the thump. Yeah, you hear that thump.
Yep.
That's what I heard, and that's why I thought it was the ball.
Yeah.
But with the benefit of being able to play this with slow motion and review it, I actually think the thump is him hitting both of the players' legs,
And-
which for me is like, holy crap, I got this way wrong.
Scott, listening to the clip without having the ability to watch it over and over,
Right.
as accurate as this, you do hear the thump thump, and you alluded to a lot of the players trying to sell you calls.
Right.
So this definitely comes into play in that into that area where you see this potential foul here. But if you really listen to it, there's the thump of a ball or the thump of the cleats.
Right.
And in this one here, you hear the cleat clearly in the audio. So, yeah.
I think you're right. I think this is a major error on my part. I actually think not only is this an incorrect foul decision here, I think this actually should have been a yellow card. Either for, actually it could be a yellow for either being just reckless or for stopping a promising attack potentially.
I agree. In terms of stopping a promising attack, there's 5 against 1.
Yep.
So reckless is ideally the
Right.
sanction here, but
Now he's down because I don't think it's a foul. I let this play on for a little bit and see what happens, and then when White gains possession here and it's coming out, I stop play to help manage the injured player and call the trainer on. Mm-hmm. Now at this point, you see me look over to the side. That's because we've got a spectator who's chirping up in the stands here, and I asked the coach to please deal with that. And the coaches were great. The coaches were saying, we're turning around saying, hey, you got to calm down, you got to calm down, you got to calm down. But then he keeps chirping. So I come back here and I say, look, hey, can you get me the athletic director? And the athletic director was there, and he comes over and I say, look, can we deal with that guy who's chirping up there? Yeah. So that athletic director was great. I can't remember if I asked him to remove him or if I just said, hey, can you just manage, what's going on up there? Ultimately, I learned afterwards that he did remove the spectator, and that apparently the spectator kept chirping at him, so he actually ended up suspending that spectator for 2 or 3 games or something, right, supposedly. So I don't know what happened there. I feel bad about that now, seeing this and seeing that I did get it wrong. But even when the ref, just a reminder to everyone, even when the ref gets it wrong, you can't act like that. The calls are going to be. I spent some time here talking to this coach. He was trying to say, hey, isn't that a foul? I talked to him a little bit about how I'd seen players flopping, sure, how I'd heard a thump, and to me it looked like it was ball. He was very good. He was very professional, even though at the end of the day I had this right. So kudos to him for the example that he set for his players and his sideline.
Yeah, yeah, you're not getting too much grief from them at all. One of the things I will allude to, if you go back to where you made the stoppage in play, I would encourage any referee that is involved in this type of scenario to show a level of concern for the player that's on the pitch. At least run over to him. What do you need? Are you okay? Just to show like optics.
Right.
But this, I think that the parent may have gotten involved a little too soon because you're heading that direction.
So for this one, we're going to have a deduction for the incorrect foul call. We're going to have a deduction for not giving a yellow card when it should have. And we're going to have, because it was a critical match point right outside of the penalty area, we're going to add the Sapper multiplier there on that. So it's going to be actually -3 on this one decision, because that's one I wish I had back. Okay, so after all the drama of the last two decisions, we've got one that's fairly straightforward, though it does result in a yellow card. White is bringing the ball up on the far end of the field, and we see White really go down hard there. This defender, who's kind of standing stationary as he's about to go by, tries to clear out that ball. Right. This is one of those where you can get the ball, but you can also still commit foul play after. But I felt that this was reckless as well, so he really gets him hard there. So I come in, I issue a yellow card to that player. It's also something that sticks in the mind of referees. Position on the field there, immediately in front of the White team's bench. So my radar is even a little bit raised in that part. So I think that's a good situation there and the correct call. So into minute 55, we've got another foul that results in a yellow card. So White's bringing the ball up here, and then right there, this red player comes in and just really clears out his legs with this kick. And that ball, unfortunately, with the way the camera is here at night, you can't really see exactly where the ball is at the moment. but that ball, you see it roll out up there. I think it's away when he comes in and do this. I will tell you, on the field, I actually for a moment considered a red card. For me, this was a very, for lack of a better term, orange challenge. I went ahead and went with yellow because it was the point and the mode of contact. So the point of contact was on the front of his shin, not his Achilles. The mode of contact was on his own shin itself. So I felt like that took it down just enough that I could go with the yellow. But I filed away that player's number in my head of, okay, like you're not going to get any real grace on a future one.
You know, looking at it, Scott, a couple times over and over, I would agree with you. It's tender, borderlining orange, if you will. I know that we don't have an orange card, but at that moment, you deemed it not to be excessive use of force based on mode and point of contact. So yellow is very appropriate here. But I would be curious to see what the viewers think in the comments below.
It is interesting when you think back to the last several plays. Like we've had that no call that happened near us where a player, when getting up, committed unsporting behavior and then earned himself an offensive and abusive language red card, immediately followed by a foul that I frankly missed and probably should have been a red card. And then immediately after that, we've got two plays where red committed very hard challenges on white. So this is probably a prime example of call that I missed, probably led to these next two. Influenced how hard red challenged in both of these two.
Yeah, I mean, oftentimes they're protecting their players and they're retaliating. I'm with you there, but going back to this one here, the decision's appropriate for this game. Yep.
1 minute later, we've got white bringing the ball into the attacking third and really right at the top of the penalty area. And then we see white go down hard here. And I'm in a very credible position right there on top of it, looking between them as they go through. And in all honesty, what I saw in the pitch, I see this player, I'm going to pause it here. I think it's this defender here, or maybe it's the one on the far side. He picks his pocket, stops the ball cold so that they can bring it out. And I honestly felt like that white player just throws his body down trying to draw a foul and then trying to say, hey, where's my foul? So this, in my mind, this was another like notch in the post of players trying to trick me into calling something, particularly there in the attacking third. I actually make the decision at this moment, and I wish I had the audio, but you see me actually turn and I point at him, because I tell him there, we're going to come back to this.
Yep.
And then if I jump forward a few seconds here, we end up with a push foul right here. Yep, right, let me back it up. Push foul right there, which is very easy to call. He's stopped there, or charge, I guess would be what it most likely is.
Yep.
I blow the whistle, but I point back at this guy, tell him to stop. Hey, it's going to be there. I call this player over, and I give him a yellow card for simulation. I call him off. I explain it was over there. It was over there. And that is honestly, I think, actually the first yellow card I have ever given for simulation. And there's other times that I think I probably should have and didn't circle back to it. But at this point, I had reached my limit of, okay, you guys, this is multiple times, I think that, and then that one was just too much. I didn't even think he was touched there.
Yeah.
And he was trying to draw it just outside the penalty area. So I don't know if you've ever given one for simulation.
I have several, actually. And every situation is going to be very different. I've had some at midfield. I've had some in the penalty area. And it's just, it's not what we want to see in the game, right? But the players will do it. I think your positioning for this particular one was where you needed to be. And then allowing the play to develop, because the players in maroon did advance the ball out. I thought that was well done too. And then coming back to it and just explaining to them, hey, this is the reason for the caution. We've had it multiple times throughout the game. And now we're done.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Interestingly enough, after this, and I explained it to the captains of both teams and to the at least the coach of the player who got the yellow card, I didn't have a single simulation the rest of the night, or where I thought they were trying to draw something. So it did actually nip it in the bud.
Yep.
After that last call, it's several minutes before we've got our next decision in minute 61, and this one's really straightforward. So 11's just trying to bring it in here, and yeah, he just gets tripped up there by white. On to minute 64, we've got actually a fairly interesting sequence here. So this ball is going to get hittered, and then right here, this red player really has, he's got a good position on this ball. He's about to hit it when this white player comes in, jumps into him, really makes, significant contact with him. Now, he's not hitting with a hard part of his body. He's got his arm tucked in, goes straight into his head. But he came in with some speed and force. So I actually reach into my pocket there and I actually pull out my yellow card because I'm about to give it to him. But I want to highlight, I put it away. And what happened there is that the white player who committed that challenge actually was apologizing, if I remember correctly, to the player who was just fouled. And then I read the body language of the player who was fouled, and he was accepting of that apology. And for me on the field, that goes a really long way. I've actually done this in other games where, I'm about to give a card, and then if I see that the players are handling it themselves, if they're being good sports about it, it's not the type of thing that they're going to, okay, I'm going to look for the next moment to get this, then I'm more willing to just say, okay, look, I don't really have to insert myself further than just awarding the free kick here. Yeah. So I put that away. I do not give a card here in this instance, but I guess I'm curious your thoughts on.
Yeah, no, I love the fact that you have a very compassionate side to sportsmanship, which I think it's admirable. When I look at this scenario here, I've got two different scenarios actually happening. I've got the player in white committing a reckless foul, jumping into the player, especially above the shoulder area. And then the second component is the apologetic sportsmanship aspect of it. So if I was to say, put myself in that situation, I'm awarding the yellow for the reckless, but I'm also complimenting them, right, for the good sportsmanship behavior, because those are two separate things.
Right.
But everybody has a different style and approach. And the fact that you had it pulled out tells me that you clearly know that it's a reckless challenge.
Right.
And then your compassionate side takes over and you put it away. So again, just different styles. But should we ask the viewers what they think?
Yeah, let us know in the comments. What would you have here? In the same minute as the last decision, we've got white on an attack here coming up across the top of the penalty area, and then we see this red player just give him the business after the ball is away. So I see that, that is obviously a foul. I'm going to call that. And I do blow the whistle and give them a direct free kick. What I missed is that right at the moment this happens, I look off to my left and I see this player here, and I see this ball going, and I'm thinking this defender is going to get it. There's no way this player is going to actually get it. And what I failed to realize was there was another player over here. I did not even see him. He goes over, he gets possession. He would have had a real, there was maybe some defenders here, but he would have had possession there with quite a bit of space to do what he wanted. At this point, I've already blown the whistle. And it's at this moment I'm thinking, oh crap, because I just missed the advantage that I should have given him, and I've already stopped play and taken it from him. And there, he's over there losing his mind, which, I can totally understand. He doesn't say anything unsporting. Captains come up here. I actually fully own this. I tell them, I said, look, I'm sorry, I totally missed him over there. I thought the ball was going out of bounds, and I did not see the player coming in. I'm really sorry. Yeah. I outright missed this one.
That's all you can do in this situation. And quite honestly, where you're positioning on the field is, we talked about being in the right place at the right time. Very difficult to catch that far left attacker in that scenario. So, yeah, I can see where it would have been missed. But at the end of the day, Scott, if you anybody that's refereed, if it's happened to you already, it'll happen again. And if it hasn't happened to you, be ready, because it'll happen. And you could see the reaction of the players once you owned it. Everything calmed down. Yep. No grief, no nothing from them. So
after that last call, it's about 6 or 7 minutes later. We're into minute 70 when we've got our next decision. And right here, red is trying to enter the attacking third, and right here, white just kind of wraps his arm around his waist and holds him back as he's trying to get away from him there. So that's a very straightforward, easy call. I had a good credible angle just walking up there. And So almost immediately off of the restart from the last foul that we reviewed, we've got what I called as a charge on the field that ended up being a critical match decision, because after this one, red ends up scoring the winning goal. So if we watch it here, right there, there's contact. That is actually what I called. Now, if I go back and I play this, I'm backing up there. I'm very close to it. What I saw on the field is it looked to me like this white defender coming in makes no attempt to play the ball at all. He's trying to use his speed and momentum to make contact with this attacker and throw him off of it. And yes, it is mostly shoulder to shoulder or shoulder to shoulder, hip to hip, but I just felt like he was using his velocity and his momentum to just throw himself into that player, even dips a little bit right as he gets there. And, for me, I felt like it was a charge. So I go ahead and called it. If he'd made an attempt to play the ball, I probably would have given him the benefit of the doubt, but I just thought he was not paying attention to the safety of his opponent there, and he was just looking for extra contact. But I guess, what do you see there, Leo?
Yeah, you could see the player in white coming in, and like you described, he does posture up, if you will, right?
Yep.
So he lowers himself in there. To me, the contact is justifiable. The ball's within playing distance. Maroon ends up having an opportunity to continue playing the ball. Obviously, then he loses it. I think it's in the opinion of the referee whether this is careless or not.
Yeah, let's go to the laws of the game. Let's
take a look.
Going to IFAB Law 12, Section 12.1, direct free kick. If in the consideration of the referee to be careless if they charge, and careless is when a player shows a lack of attention or consideration when making a challenge or acts without precaution.
It's looking at the different styles of refereeing. A lot of times you see this considered to be a what's the saying that they 50-50 challenge, right. Or it's a shoulder to shoulder. But I'd be curious to see what others think, based on their experiences, if this is a foul or if this is a play on situation.
Having made it on the field and watching it here, I feel like I would make this same call again in this game with the temperature that it was at. Yeah, let us know. What do you guys think? We've played this here a bunch of times. Yep. Normally we don't review goals on the channel either, but I do want to show off of this kick, they score the go-ahead goal, but there's more going on in this too, because White has a three-man wall set up here, and you notice that there's a red player walking behind, and he kind of tries to sneakily set up as part of their wall. And I see that, and I tell him, hey, look, no, they got a wall. You've got to get at least a yard away. So he steps away, and then right off of that, they score the go-ahead goal. So
he draws the defender that would have been potentially in a position to make the save.
Yeah.
Or deflect that kick.
Yeah.
So smart.
So in the 75th minute, we've got a call here. Red is attacking. They get sent a through ball. This player comes up, and then right there, the goalie jumps up and gets the ball first, and this red player comes in and clears out his leg. Now, I will tell you, on the field, I had to kind of process, is this a penalty kick or is this a foul on the goalkeeper? Now, I usually default to protecting the goalkeeper. I'm really glad, honestly, that the camera angle confirms what I called on the field, because for a split second, in the angle that I had on it, I couldn't see as clearly as this camera does that this goalkeeper tucks his leg before the contact. If he had kept that leg up and intentionally been trying to make contact going the other way, then,
that would have been really bad.
That would have been bad.
Yeah.
So, honestly, I've said this many times on the channel that I think attackers coming in on a one-on-one with the goalkeeper where you've got these split seconds to make these decisions are some of the hardest decisions for at least me as an official. Because if you want, this is a prime example, if you watch this one, that goalkeeper keeping his knee up or having his cleats out just a little bit is the difference between this being a red card on the keeper and a penalty kick versus a foul here for the defense and it coming out. And those are major, major controversial swings in the game. I'm glad the video shows this one was right.
Yeah, you absolutely made the right decision on the field based on those. And I do appreciate the considerations that you're taking while looking at those things. I would also add here, and agree with you that these are the most critical decisions, or some of the hardest ones you said. But I also rely on my assistant referees when it comes to this. And during a pregame, you're going through and obviously talking about some of the scenarios that could potentially happen, but having the assistant referee be there at the spot when they're jumping absolutely helps, and that could be something that just for the viewers or any other referees that are, maybe find this challenging as well. That's something that can help out with it too.
Yeah, if we look at my assistant referee here, he's not sprinting down to follow that ball. He's staying in line with the second last defender rather than following up the ball. So that's an opportunity there. Now into minute 78, our final decision of this match. Pretty straightforward trip call. Reds bring the ball up. White tries to come in, do a slide tackle, mistimes it, and just clears out this player's legs. It's funny because I think they were trying to yell on the field. He got the ball. This is very obviously no ball contact at all.
Yeah.
So, clears him out there, and a very easy call to end what otherwise was a pretty lively second half.
Oh, I agree. And I think this call right here, twice on Sunday.
Yeah, every day of the week and twice on
There
Sunday.
you go.
Every day of the week and twice on Sunday, that's a foul.
Yep.
Okay, so with that game in the books, let's check how our Sapper score turned out. So with 32 decisions and 5 total deductions, that gives this game a final Sapper score of 84.4%. So per the rules of the channel, that's just below the range of a good game. This is in the okay game range. I think 85 is the cutoff there. So, honestly, it's interesting. In this match, I actually walked off the field feeling very good. Like, I felt like I've been working on my positioning. I've honestly been working on losing a little bit of weight and working on my movements. And I felt like all of that was kind of coming together. I walked off this pitch feeling very good about the game. Felt like game management was okay. I knew I had missed the advantage, and I even went and apologized to the coach about that. I knew I'd missed that one. The other big miss that we took 3 of our 5 deductions on, which was the one outside the penalty area, I thought I had gotten right.
Yeah.
So, obviously without that single missed call, if I'd gotten that one correct, then this is a much different score here. But it's just interesting things that you think, and some of why I really value doing these game reviews, because there's things that on the field I felt very sure about, and then when I go back and do these self-reflections and work with somebody else, it's like, okay, but
yeah. Well, I'll tell you, Scott, the Sapper score is one thing. You walking off the field feeling very good about it is another. You've been working on positioning, and I would say the foul recognition is there, and the fact that you're in position to be able to make those decisions, right? Some of them you missed. Okay, so you missed the advantage, you missed the double cleat hit, right? No big deal. You learn from it, and then just having the courage to put yourself out there and do these things is incredibly admirable. So I wouldn't look at so much at the Sapper score. I know it's the laws of the channel, or what do you call them? The rules of the channel.
Yeah.
My apologies, but when you look at a game like this, was there game management? 100%. Was there positioning improvement? 100%. The foul recognition, there was 2 scenarios. One which was an advantage more so than a foul, and the other one was the actual foul. But everything else, you're starting to see progression. And as a fan of the channel, you can start seeing there is progression there. And I've actually got the chance to work with you out in the field too, on the pitch too, and it's very different to some of the clips that you get to see. So you should feel really good about the work that you've done on that game. Yeah.
And Leo, really appreciate you taking the time. It takes a lot longer than anybody fully appreciates, except for those of us who have done it, to sit down and do one of these reviews. So, if you're a referee who's interested in joining for one of these, I'm always looking for some. I think it brings so much more to these game reviews when we have somebody like Leo willing to come in, bring their experience, bring a second set of eyes. So if you're interested, I'm always looking for partners on these. So reach out to me, let me know, whether it's a game you've got on video of your own, or you just want to join and help critique mine.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I really appreciate it. And like Scott said, if you want to help out, please do. It's a lot of fun. Is it time consuming? I don't know. This was a lot of fun. So how much time did we spend on this?
So that concludes this game review. Join us back here for our next upload. I'm Scott.
I'm Leo.
And we'll see you out on the pitch. When Maroon here 5, I think, comes through, he's working on getting the ball.
I would love for you to say Maroon 5 on there, please.
We've got Maroon 5 here.
Yep. And the color could be, but actually, folks, not the band.
No, we got the call. We got it right.
Yes, so you do have it all.
We got it right. Okay. Hey.
Yeah, so how did you confuse yourself? Because of, what did you say?
I'm watching it on 2x.
Oh, charge.
I'm watching it on 2x speed, and
That's why. Okay.
It's going to be outside of a good game.
Based on Sapper scores.
Based on Sapper scores.
Yeah, but who are they?
I don't even like those guys. Okay.
I got told 2 things. 1, never ever point a direction. Always signal.
Always signal, okay.
And never...
Return... Oh, okay. Yeah.
You got it right away.
I got it. That's going in the bloopers.
Yeah. We would get some backlash from that one. Grandma's going to be calling us.
All right.